Lydia Voss sat in the quiet corner of her sunlit living room, a cup of tea steaming in her hands as she gazed out the window at the autumn leaves drifting lazily to the ground. It was September 30th, 2025, and the world outside seemed peaceful, but inside her mind, memories swirled like a storm. She had promised herself she would share this story, not just as a tale of heartbreak and triumph, but as a lesson for her family and anyone who might listen. Elena, her younger sister, had always been the strong one, the one with a heart as vast as the ocean and resilience forged from their mixed European-Asian heritage. Their mother, a Vietnamese immigrant who married their German father, had taught them both that true strength came from within, from the quiet endurance of the soul. But even the strongest hearts could crack under betrayal. It all began in early 2023, when Elena, a dedicated nurse at Metropolitan General Hospital, first crossed paths with Damien Hale. Elena had always believed in the power of kindness to heal, a philosophy rooted in the stories their mother told of surviving war and rebuilding life in a new country. Lydia remembered how Elena would call her late at night, exhausted from shifts but glowing with purpose. That year, the hospital was buzzing with the arrival of a high-profile patient, a billionaire whose empire spanned tech and finance. Damien was arrogant, demanding, the kind of man who viewed the world as his chessboard. But Elena saw beyond that. She saw a man wounded not just physically from his accident, but emotionally, isolated by his wealth. Lydia leaned back in her chair, her voice soft as she began recounting the tale aloud, imagining an audience beyond the empty room. Elena gave birth to his child alone, she whispered, her words heavy with emotion. Her billionaire husband was sharing a bed with another woman. What she did next became a legend in our family, a story of a powerful woman rising from ashes. I am speaking to you with an open heart, dear listeners. In these times, stories like this fade if not shared. Your engagement, your thoughts, breathe life into them. Together, we can show that bonds of resilience cannot be silenced. The morning sun of February 2023 painted golden patterns across the hospital floor as Elena moved through her routine with gentle precision. Her soft-soled shoes whispered against the polished tiles as she arranged fresh flowers in a crystal vase, transforming the sterile room into something warmer. She believed healing required more than medicine. It demanded beauty, kindness, and genuine care. Evelyn, the head nurse, warned from the doorway, her face creased with concern. "You are too good for your own well-being, child. The new patient is different, demanding, expects the world to revolve around him." Elena smiled softly, her dark hair catching the light. "Everyone deserves compassion when vulnerable, Evelyn. Pain does not discriminate between rich and poor." "Your heart is too pure for this world," Evelyn replied, shaking her head. "Some people mistake kindness for weakness." The elevator chimed, and an entourage emerged, surrounding a stretcher. Damien Hale lay there, tall and striking, with sharp features marred by arrogance even in unconsciousness. The transfer was precise, his assistants barking orders. Elena observed him, noting the tension in his shoulders. "Everyone out," he commanded upon waking, his voice authoritative. "I need to contact my people." "You need rest," Elena interrupted gently. "I am Elena, and I will care for you." His piercing eyes fixed on her in surprise. "Do you know who I am?" "You are a man who is hurt," she replied, checking monitors. "That is all that matters now." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise perhaps, before superiority returned. "I do not need sympathy, I need competent care." "Sympathy?" Elena raised an eyebrow. "I offer dignity to everyone, regardless of status." He studied her, searching for agendas, but found only warmth. "The physician will visit shortly," she continued, adjusting his IV. "True healing requires surrender." "I do not rest during daylight," he protested, eyelids heavy. "Today you do," she said, dimming lights. "Sometimes strength means admitting need." As she left, he called, "Elena, wait! What did you mean by dignity?" She paused. "Every person carries invisible wounds. Wealth buys care, but not connection or peace." Her words resonated. "And you think I need that peace?" "Everyone does. The question is if you are brave enough to accept it." Over days, Damien anticipated her shifts. She treated him as human, a novelty in his world. "Your flowers are dying," he observed. "All beautiful things fade," she replied. "That makes them precious." Wisdom from a nurse? From a woman who knows value cannot be bought. He watched her, noting her simple grace, the scar on her thumb from life experiences. "You are different." "Different how?" "You do not want anything from me." "What makes you think you have what I want?" The question cracked his armor. "Most seek my power. What do you want, Damien?" The use of his name warmed him. "I want someone to see me beyond achievements." "Then be someone worth seeing." Their talks became highlights. She shared patient stories of resilience. He revealed abandoned dreams of teaching, loneliness in power. "Do you regret your path?" "Regret is a luxury I never permitted. But lately, I wonder. It is never too late." You are speaking to someone who values you without those things. "Elena, would you have dinner with me after discharge? As Damien, the person?" "Just Damien. I would like that." As she left, she felt a path opening, unaware of dangers ahead. Lydia paused, sipping tea. That was the beginning. But hidden in Damien's world was a secret, a darkness that would shatter everything. Victoria Reed, his colleague, had been waiting in the shadows, her own past of betrayal fueling a hunger for control. Elena's kindness would clash with their ambition, leading to a night of ultimate abandonment. Stay with me, for the storm is just beginning. The tale unfolded rapidly after Damien's recovery. Their dinner sparked a whirlwind romance. By summer 2023, he proposed under stars, vowing to cherish her spirit. Elena, with her cultural roots emphasizing family harmony, believed in his change. But Lydia knew better. She had seen the subtle signs, the late calls, the distant eyes. Elena dismissed them, clinging to hope. Their wedding in August 2023 was a fairy tale, the cathedral embracing their vows. "I promise to protect your kind heart," Damien said. Elena responded, "I promise to be your safe harbor." The honeymoon in azure seas revealed his softer side, but upon return, cracks appeared. Elena discovered her pregnancy in October. Joy mixed with unease as Damien grew distant, claiming family pressures. By late 2023, the betrayal emerged. Victoria, with her smoky voice and predatory grace, offered Damien excitement. Her backstory: abandoned by a lover years ago, she vowed never to be weak, climbing social ladders through calculation. Damien fell, justifying it as reclaiming his nature. Elena labored alone on December 15, 2023, calls unanswered, as Damien lay with Victoria. In the hospital, she named her daughter Sophia, drawing strength from maternal tales of endurance. But the revelation came days later, Victoria confronting her, twisting the knife. Enter Alexander Thorne, the doctor who saw her worth. His kindness sparked transformation. By 2024, Elena filed for divorce, battling custody in court. Alexander, with his own burdens from a philanthropic family legacy, became her anchor. Lydia's voice grew intense. Elena did not just survive, she thrived. Marrying Alexander in 2025, she built empires of healing. Damien's secret? A web of lies that unraveled publicly. But that is for later parts. For now, remember, betrayal may break, but inner strength rebuilds. Elena Voss moved through the sterile corridors of Metropolitan General Hospital with the quiet grace of someone who had found her calling. It was February 2023, and the morning light filtered through high windows, casting soft patterns across the polished tiles. Her dark hair, tied back in a practical bun, gleamed with hints of auburn inherited from her Vietnamese mother, a woman who had taught her that kindness was a form of strength. Elena's soft-soled shoes whispered as she adjusted the chart for room 312, where a new patient had arrived under a storm of whispers. Damien Hale, the billionaire tech mogul, had been admitted after a car accident, his reputation preceding him like a dark cloud. Nurses murmured about his arrogance, his demands, but Elena saw only a patient, another soul in need of care. She entered the room, her presence calm despite the chaos of his entourage. Men in sharp suits barked orders about privacy and temperature, their voices sharp with urgency. On the stretcher lay Damien, tall and striking even in his vulnerability. His dark hair fell across a forehead creased with pain, and his jaw, set with an air of defiance, hinted at a man unaccustomed to weakness. His chart noted a fractured arm and concussion, but Elena's trained eye caught the deeper signs: the tension in his shoulders, the slight tremor in his hands, the way his breath hitched as consciousness flickered back. Evelyn, the head nurse, lingered at the doorway, her weathered face etched with concern. "Be careful with this one, Elena," she said softly. "He expects the world to bow to him." Elena turned, her brown eyes steady. "Everyone deserves compassion when they're hurting, Evelyn. Pain doesn't care about wealth or status." Evelyn shook her head. "Your heart's too pure for this world, child. Men like him see kindness as weakness, something to exploit." Elena offered a small smile and returned to her task, arranging fresh lilies in a crystal vase to soften the room's clinical chill. She believed healing required more than medicine. It needed beauty, humanity. As the entourage filed out, Damien's eyes opened, piercing blue and sharp with authority. "Everyone out," he commanded, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. "I need my phone. Urgent matters can't wait." Elena stepped forward, unfazed. "You need rest, Mr. Hale. I'm Elena, your nurse." His gaze locked on her, surprise flickering as if he couldn't process her calm defiance. "Do you know who I am?" "A man who's been hurt," she replied, checking the monitors with practiced ease. "Right now, that's what matters." His brow furrowed, a mix of irritation and intrigue. "I don't need pity. I need efficiency." "Pity?" Elena raised an eyebrow, her tone gentle but firm. "I offer dignity, not pity. Every person deserves that, no matter their attitude." Damien studied her, searching for hidden motives. Most people who spoke to him wanted something: access, favors, a piece of his empire. But Elena's eyes held only professional care, tinged with a warmth that disarmed him. "The physician will be here soon," she continued, adjusting his IV with deft hands. "Until then, try resting. Healing requires surrender, not control." "I don't rest during the day," he protested, though his eyelids betrayed him, heavy from medication. "Today you do," she said, dimming the lights with quiet authority. "Sometimes the strongest choice is to let go." As she moved to leave, his voice stopped her. "Elena, wait." She turned, meeting his gaze. "What did you mean by dignity?" he asked, his tone softer, almost curious. She paused, choosing her words. "Every person who enters this hospital carries more than physical wounds. Sometimes the deepest scars are invisible. Money can buy the best care, but it can't buy peace or connection." Her words, rooted in her mother's teachings of resilience through empathy, struck something in him. "And you think I need peace?" "Everyone does," she replied. "The question is whether you're brave enough to accept it." Over the next days, Damien found himself waiting for Elena's shifts. She treated him not as a tycoon, but as a man, a novelty in his world of calculated interactions. One afternoon, as she reviewed his chart, he noticed the wilting flowers. "Your lilies are fading," he said. "All beautiful things fade," she replied matter-of-factly. "That's what makes them precious. Permanence doesn't give life meaning. It's knowing things pass." Philosophy from a nurse. His tone held amusement, not mockery. "Wisdom from a woman whose learned value isn't bought," she said, replacing the lilies with fresh roses from the hospital garden. He watched her hands, noting the absence of jewelry, the practical nails, a small scar on her thumb, a mark of a life lived through experience, not luxury. "You're different," he said suddenly. "Different how?" "You don't want anything from me. You seem to enjoy my company for its own sake." Elena met his gaze. "What makes you think you have anything I want?" The question hit like a spark, cracking the armor he'd built since childhood. Most people wanted his influence, his wealth. "What do you want, Damien?" she asked, her use of his first name sending warmth through him. No one had asked him that in years. "I want someone to see me beyond my empire," he admitted, the words surprising him. "Then be someone worth seeing," she said gently, her words carrying the weight of truth. Their conversations deepened. Elena shared stories of patience, a poet writing for his lost wife, a mother singing to her premature twins, revealing her gift for finding the sacred in the ordinary. Damien spoke of abandoned dreams, of wanting to teach history before his father forced him into the family business. He described boardrooms where he felt like an actor, penthouse dinners hollow despite the opulence. "Do you regret your path?" she asked one evening. "Regret is a luxury I don't allow," he said. "But lately, I wonder what I could have been." "It's never too late," Elena said. "You're speaking to someone who values you, not your empire." Her words, infused with her cultural belief in second chances, stirred something in him. "Elena," he said as she prepared to leave, "would you have dinner with me after I'm discharged? As the man, not the mogul, just Damien." "I'd like that," she said, a smile transforming her face. As she walked down the corridor, Elena felt a flutter of hope, unaware of the shadow lurking in Damien's world. Victoria Reed, his colleague, had watched from afar, her ambition sharpened by a past betrayal that left her vowing never to be weak again. She saw Elena's kindness as a challenge, a threat to her plans. Damien's invitation was no simple gesture. It was a move in a game he didn't yet know he was playing, one that would lead to a secret dark enough to shatter everything. Lydia's voice echoed in her mind as Elena left the hospital that night. "Be careful, little sister. Men like him play by different rules." But Elena, guided by her mother's tales of love overcoming hardship, believed she could reach him. She didn't yet know that this encounter would spark a chain of events, love, betrayal, and a night of abandonment that would test her strength beyond imagining. By August 2023, Elena Voss stood beneath the soaring arches of St. Mary's Cathedral, her heart racing as she exchanged vows with Damien Hale. The summer light streamed through stained glass, painting her white lace gown in hues of sapphire and gold. Her dark hair, woven with delicate pearls, caught the glow, a nod to her Vietnamese mother's tradition of honoring family through beauty. Their love, sparked in the sterile hospital room just 6 months earlier, had blossomed into a fairy tale. Damien, once a cold billionaire, seemed transformed, his blue eyes soft with sincerity as he promised to cherish her gentle spirit and protect her kind heart. Elena, guided by her heritage's belief in harmony, vowed to be his safe harbor, to love the man he was becoming. The congregation, a mix of high society and hospital staff, sighed in awe, believing they were witnessing a love to defy the cynics. Their honeymoon in Santorini unfolded like a dream painted in azure and white. Away from his empire, Damien let his guard down, laughing freely as they explored ancient ruins and watched sunsets ignite the sea. "I could stay here forever," he murmured one evening on their villa's terrace, his arm around Elena as stars emerged. "We could," she agreed, curling closer, "but running away isn't living. We must carry this joy home." "You're right," he said, kissing her forehead. "We'll build something real together." Her mother's stories of rebuilding life after hardship echoed in her mind, fueling her hope. Back in New York by September 2023, their early married life seemed to validate every promise. Damien, inspired by Elena's compassion, launched a charitable foundation to aid hospital patients, a project that filled him with unexpected purpose. Elena returned to nursing part-time, balancing her shifts with their new life in Damien's Manhattan penthouse. They spent evenings planning their future, discussing dreams over candlelit dinners. "You've changed me," he told her one night, moonlight streaming through their bedroom windows. "I see someone I like in the mirror now." "You were always that man," Elena replied, her fingers tracing his chest. "I just loved you enough to let him shine." In October 2023, Elena discovered she was pregnant. The test sat on their marble bathroom counter, its 2 lines a quiet miracle. Emerging to find Damien reading in bed, her radiant smile spoke before her words. "We're having a baby," she whispered, voice trembling with joy. Damien's book fell forgotten as he swept her into his arms, spinning her with laughter. "A baby," he repeated, as if testing the weight of the word. They spent hours naming their child, Sophia for wisdom, and designing a nursery filled with soft blues and hand-painted stars. His hands lingered on her still flat stomach, wonder in his eyes. "I want to be the father I never had," he confessed, patient, present. "You will be," Elena assured him, though a faint unease stirred, his tone carrying a shadow she couldn't name. The first cracks appeared subtly, like hairline fractures in glass. By November 2023, Damien's hours grew longer, his phone buzzing with urgent calls he took in private. He claimed it was the foundation, the pressure of securing their family's future. Elena, now 3 months pregnant, dismissed her doubts, recalling her mother's advice to trust in love's endurance. But his conversations grew sharp, his warmth cooling. One evening, as he paced their living room, phone pressed to his ear, his gestures angry, Elena spoke up. "You're pushing too hard, Damien." He ended the call abruptly, his tone curt. "I'm doing what's necessary. There's so much responsibility now, a wife, a baby. I must provide." "We don't need more than we have," Elena said, her hands finding his face. "We need you here, your heart, not your wealth." "You don't understand," he replied, pulling away. "You've never carried the weight of a family depending on you." The words stung, cutting deeper than he seemed to realize. "I understand more than you think," she said, her voice steady despite the ache. "I've seen families revived on love alone, and others crumble with everything but love. Which will we be?" He turned away, shoulders tense. "I have work in my study." As he left, Elena pressed a hand to her belly, whispering to her unborn child, "It's just stress, little one. Daddy loves us." Alone in their bed, Elena stared at the ceiling, her mother's tales of resilience battling the growing doubt in her heart. The distance between them felt like a chasm, widening with each late night. She remembered Lydia's warning from months ago. Men like him play by different rules. But Elena clung to hope, believing their love could bridge any gap. She didn't yet know of Victoria Reed, the woman whose name had begun to surface in Damien's circles. Victoria, with her auburn hair and predatory grace, was no mere colleague. Her own past, marked by a lover's betrayal that left her vowing never to be vulnerable again, had forged her into a woman who saw power as the only currency. She viewed Elena's kindness as weakness, a challenge to her ambitions. One morning, as Elena sipped herbal tea in their kitchen, her phone rang. Lydia's voice came through, tinged with concern. "You sounded off yesterday, Elena. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Elena replied, settling into the breakfast nook where she and Damien once shared lazy mornings. "Just tired, the pregnancy." Lydia hesitated. "I saw photos from Damien's gala last week. He was there without you." Elena's grip tightened. "I had a doctor's appointment," she said, though the memory stung. She'd bought a maternity dress, excited for the event, but Damien insisted the appointment couldn't be moved. "With Victoria Reed," Lydia added gently. "They looked close." "She's a colleague," Elena said firmly. "It's networking, professional obligations." "Elena, please," Lydia urged. "Be careful." "I can't do this now," Elena cut in, her voice weary. "Damien's working for our family. I won't let gossip poison us." Hanging up, she sat in the quiet kitchen, her hand cradling her growing belly. Sophia kicked gently, as if sensing her unease. "Your daddy loves us," she whispered. "He's just scared of failing us." But the words felt hollow, the empty house amplifying her doubts. Across the city, Damien stood in his office, the skyline stretching before him like a kingdom. Yet the view brought no satisfaction. His reflection looked haggard, older than his 35 years. Victoria's smoky voice had begun to weave through his thoughts, offering excitement where Elena offered comfort. Their worlds were colliding, and Elena, unaware, stood on the edge of a betrayal that would test every lesson her mother ever taught her. As she prepared for another day, a faint scent of unfamiliar perfume lingered on Damien's jacket, left carelessly on the couch. Her heart sank, but she pushed the thought away, not ready to face the darkness waiting to unravel their perfect illusion. By late November 2023, the illusion of Elena Voss and Damien Hale's perfect marriage was fraying at the edges. The Manhattan penthouse, once a haven of candlelit dinners and shared dreams, now felt like a stage where they played roles of husband and wife. Elena, 4 months pregnant, moved through their home with quiet grace, her hands often resting on her growing belly, where Sophia stirred with increasing strength. Her Vietnamese heritage, rooted in stories of endurance and family, kept her grounded, but doubts gnawed at her. Damien's late nights had become routine, his phone buzzing with calls he took behind closed doors. He claimed it was the charitable foundation, the pressure of building a legacy for their child, but his eyes avoided hers, and his warmth had cooled to a distant politeness. Elena stood in their kitchen one evening, preparing herbal tea, the scent of chamomile mingling with her unease. The city sparkled beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, but the view felt hollow, like a promise unkept. Damien paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear, his voice sharp with irritation. "You don't understand the stakes," he snapped to someone unseen, his free hand gesturing angrily. Elena watched, her heart sinking. "You're pushing yourself too hard," she said softly as he ended the call. He turned, his jaw tight. "I'm doing what's needed, Elena. A wife, a child on the way. There's a lot riding on me." "We don't need more than we have," she replied, stepping closer, her hands reaching for his face. "We need you present, your heart, not your empire." His eyes flickered, a brief glimpse of the man she'd met in the hospital, but he pulled away. "You've never had to carry this kind of weight," he said, his words cutting deeper than he seemed to realize. "I've seen families thrive on love alone," she countered, her voice steady despite the sting. "And families with everything but love crumble. Which will we be?" Damien's shoulders tensed, and he turned toward his study. "I have work to finish," he muttered, leaving her alone. Elena pressed a hand to her belly, whispering to Sophia, "It's just stress, little one. Daddy loves us." But the words felt fragile, like a mantra losing its power. Her sister Lydia's warnings echoed. Men like him play by different rules. She shook her head, clinging to her mother's teachings about trust and resilience. But a faint scent of unfamiliar perfume on Damien's coat, left carelessly on the couch, planted a seed of doubt she couldn't ignore. Across the city, in a sleek office overlooking Central Park, Victoria Reed leaned against a glass desk, her auburn hair catching the lamplight like burnished copper. She was no mere colleague. She was a woman forged by betrayal. Years ago, a lover had abandoned her, leaving her to rebuild alone. That pain had hardened her, shaping her into someone who saw power as the only currency that mattered. She viewed Elena's kindness as naivety, a weakness to exploit. Damien stood by the window, his reflection haggard, his empire no longer enough to fill the void within. "You look exhausted," Victoria observed, her voice smoky, laced with calculated warmth. She crossed the room, her heels clicking with predatory precision. "What do you want, Victoria?" he asked, not turning. "You," she said simply, standing close enough for her perfume to linger. "I've wanted you for weeks." Her directness was intoxicating, so different from Elena's gentle nurturing. "I'm married," Damien said, the words heavy. "To a woman who doesn't understand your world," Victoria replied smoothly. "When did Elena last grasp the pressures you face, the decisions that keep you awake?" His jaw tightened. She was right. Elena's suggestions to prioritize compassion over profit felt naive, out of touch with the ruthless reality of his position. "She's carrying my child," he said quietly. "I'm not asking you to abandon her," Victoria said, her hand resting lightly on his arm, her touch igniting a spark he'd tried to suppress. "I'm offering something that complements who you are, not changes it." With Elena, he felt the weight of her expectations to be kinder, better. With Victoria, he could be the man he'd always been, powerful, unapologetic. "This is wrong," he whispered, even as he faced her. "Wrong according to whom?" she challenged, her green eyes steady. "According to a nurse who wants to remake you, or your own nature." Her words struck deep, feeding insecurities he'd buried beneath domesticity. Did Elena love him, or an idealized version she'd crafted? "She loves me," he said, but the conviction faltered. "She loves who she thinks you are," Victoria corrected. "I love who you really are, the man who built an empire through strength." Before he could respond, she kissed him, and his resistance crumbled. In her arms, he felt free, unburdened by expectations. Guilt flickered, but he pushed it away, telling himself Elena would never know. Back at the penthouse, Elena lay awake, the bed cold beside her. Damien hadn't come home again, his latest excuse a vague, urgent situation. She stared at the ceiling, her mother's stories of enduring hardship battling the growing fear that their love was slipping away. Sophia kicked gently, a reminder of the future she was fighting for. "It's just temporary," she whispered, but the seed of doubt took root, whispering that the man she'd married might not be the man she thought he was. The next morning, Lydia called, her voice heavy with concern. "You sounded strange last night, Elena. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Elena said, settling into the breakfast nook where she and Damien once shared laughter. "Just the pregnancy, tiring me out." "I saw photos from his charity gala," Lydia said. "He was there without you, with Victoria Reed. They looked close." Elena's grip tightened on her phone. "I had a doctor's appointment," she said, the memory bitter. Damien had insisted it couldn't be rescheduled, though she'd offered to adjust. "She's a colleague," Elena added firmly. "It's professional." "Elena, please," Lydia said, her tone urgent. "Don't ignore the signs." "I can't let gossip ruin what we have," Elena replied, her voice breaking. "He's working for our family." Hanging up, she sat in silence, Sophia's gentle kicks anchoring her. She tried to recall her mother's tales of overcoming doubt, but the perfume on Damien's coat lingered in her mind, a silent accusation. Across the city, Damien sat in his office, Victoria's words echoing, "You can't hide who you are." He stared at his phone, Elena's missed call flashing, but instead of answering, he dialed Victoria, already planning their next meeting. As Elena prepared for another day, the weight of uncertainty grew heavier. She didn't yet know the full extent of Damien's betrayal, but the seeds were sown, ready to bloom into a storm that would shatter her world. In her heart, she clung to hope, unaware that the man she loved was slipping further into a darkness she couldn't reach. The clock ticked past midnight on December 15, 2023, as Elena Voss lay in the darkness of her Manhattan penthouse, the silence broken only by the sharp pain of a contraction. Her hand pressed against her swollen belly, where Sophia stirred with insistent force. The waves of pain rolled through her, stronger than before, and she gasped, realizing this was no false alarm. Their baby was coming. "Damien," she whispered, reaching across the bed, but her fingers met only cold sheets. He hadn't come home again, his latest excuse an urgent situation at the foundation. Another contraction gripped her, and she moaned, the sound echoing in the empty room. Elena fumbled for her phone on the nightstand, her hands trembling as she dialed Damien's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times before his voicemail greeted her, his voice professional and distant. "Damien, it's me," she said, fighting to keep panic from her words. "The contractions have started. I think it's time. Please come home. I need you." She hung up, counting the minutes between contractions, each one sharper, closer together. He would call back soon, she told herself. Nothing could be more important than their child's birth. Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity. No call came. She dialed again, desperation creeping into her voice. "Damien, please answer. The baby's coming now. I'm scared and I need my husband. Please." The silence that followed was deafening, a void swallowing her hope. Between contractions, she tried his office line, his assistant, even colleagues she barely knew. Each call went unanswered, each voicemail a plea left hanging. Sophia's movements grew urgent, as if sensing her mother's distress, and Elena clutched her belly, whispering, "It's okay, little one. We'll be okay." The pain intensified, nearly bringing her to her knees. She couldn't wait longer. With trembling fingers, she called her doctor, Dr. Wynne, whose calm voice confirmed what she already knew. "It's time, Elena. Get to the hospital. Is Damien there to drive you?" Elena closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He's unavailable," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll call a cab." "You shouldn't be alone," Dr. Wynne said kindly. "I'll be fine," Elena interrupted, though the words felt like a lie. "I'll manage." The cab ride to Metropolitan General blurred in a haze of pain and disbelief. How could Damien not answer? How could he miss this moment? She clutched her phone, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. "I'm at the hospital now. Damien. The baby's coming fast. I'm terrified. Please, I'm begging you. I can't do this alone. Your child needs you. Where are you?" The city lights streaked past, indifferent to her anguish, and Elena fought to focus, drawing on her mother's stories of enduring hardship with quiet strength. At the hospital, the admission process was a whirlwind of questions she could barely answer between contractions. When the nurse asked for her emergency contact, she gave Damien's number, clinging to fading confidence. "We'll keep trying him," the nurse assured her, guiding her to the delivery room. "He'll be here soon." But as hours passed and labor intensified, it became clear Damien would not come. Nurses offered clinical support, but their kindness couldn't fill the void where her husband belonged. In a penthouse across the city, Damien's phone buzzed on the nightstand, Elena's name flashing in the dark. Victoria Reed lay beside him, her auburn hair spilling across his chest, her breathing steady after their passionate encounter. "Your phone," she murmured sleepily, her fingers tracing lazy circles on his skin. "It can wait," he replied, his arm tightening around her. "Everything can wait." "What if it's important?" she asked, her tone indifferent. He glanced at the screen, seeing Elena's photo from their honeymoon, her smile radiant with hope. "It's not," he said, turning the phone face down. "Nothing's more important than this." Victoria smiled, pressing her lips to his throat. "I love how decisive you are. You matter," he whispered, his voice thick with desire. "This matters. Everything else is obligation." Guilt twisted in his chest, but he shoved it aside. He'd chosen passion over duty, Victoria's intoxicating freedom over the weight of fatherhood. He told himself Elena would understand, that he could compartmentalize this moment from their life together. In the delivery room, Elena gripped the bed rails, pain merging with heartbreak. "I can see the head," Dr. Nguyen announced, her voice warm with encouragement. "You're doing beautifully, Elena. Your baby's almost here." "Is he, my husband, here?" Elena gasped between pushes, clinging to hope. "Focus on your baby," Dr. Nguyen said gently. "You're strong enough for this." As Sophia entered the world with a piercing cry, joy and devastation collided in Elena's heart. Her daughter was perfect, with Damien's dark hair and eyes that promised to mirror his intensity. But he wasn't there to see her first breath. "She's beautiful," Dr. Nguyen said, placing Sophia on Elena's chest. "Perfect in every way." Elena looked down, tears falling as she whispered, "Hello, little one. I'm your mama, and I love you so much. Your daddy, he loves you too. He just couldn't be here." The lie tasted bitter, but she couldn't let Sophia's first moments be tainted by abandonment. She held her daughter close, her mother's tales of resilience echoing. "You are never alone as long as you have love to give." Across the city, Damien's phone fell silent, its screen dark with ignored calls. Victoria stirred, checking her own phone. "It's almost dawn," she said. "Shouldn't you get home before your wife notices you're gone?" "She's used to it," he replied, but a cold weight settled in his stomach. Guilt, long suppressed, demanded acknowledgement. "Good," Victoria said, pressing closer. "I hate sharing you, even with her." Damien stared at the ceiling, the first rays of sunlight creeping through the windows, unable to face the growing pile of voicemails that would shatter his illusion of blameless infidelity. In the hospital, Elena cradled Sophia, studying her perfect features in the soft morning light. She'd stopped calling Damien, stopped making excuses to the nurses. "It's just you and me now, sweet girl," she whispered. "But that's enough. We'll be okay. Mama will make sure you never feel this pain." Sophia's tiny fingers curled around her thumb, and in that moment, Elena felt a fierce strength rise within her. Whatever happened next, she would protect her daughter, no matter the cost. The night of abandonment had broken her heart, but it had also planted the seeds of a resolve that would carry her forward into an uncertain dawn. The hospital room was bathed in the soft glow of dawn on December 20th, 2023, as Elena Voss held her newborn daughter Sophia close to her chest. 5 days had passed since the night of abandonment, when Elena had given birth alone, her desperate calls to Damien unanswered. The pain of labor had faded, but the ache of betrayal lingered, sharp and unrelenting. Sophia slept peacefully, her tiny breaths a quiet anchor for Elena's fractured heart. Drawing on her Vietnamese mother's teachings of resilience, Elena had found a fragile peace in the rhythm of hospital life, feeding and rocking Sophia through sleepless nights. The nurses, once casting pitying glances, now looked at her with quiet respect, admiring the young mother's dignity in the face of solitude. Elena's dark hair fell loosely around her shoulders, a stark contrast to the crisp white hospital linens. She hummed a lullaby her mother once sang, a Vietnamese melody of hope through hardship, as Sophia stirred. The room felt like a sanctuary, but the world beyond its walls loomed with uncertainty. Going home meant facing Damien's absence, the cold penthouse, and questions she wasn't ready to answer. Her sister Lydia's voice echoed in her mind. "Be careful, little sister. Men like him play different rules." Elena had dismissed the warning, clinging to hope, but now doubt gnawed at her, fueled by the scent of unfamiliar perfume and unanswered calls. A commotion in the hallway broke her reverie. Through the half-open door she saw a woman approaching, tall and elegant, her auburn hair catching the fluorescent light like polished copper. Even from a distance, Elena recognized her from society page photos. Victoria Reed, the name increasingly tied to Damien's professional life. Victoria entered without knocking, her designer heels clicking against the linoleum with deliberate precision. She wore a tailored cream suit, her smile cold as winter frost. "Well, well," she said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. The little mother all alone with her baby. How touching. Elena's arms tightened around Sophia, protective instincts flaring. "Visiting hours are over," she said, her tone calm but firm. "And we haven't been introduced." "Oh, we share so much," Victoria replied, settling uninvited into the chair beside the bed. "We both know Damien Hale intimately, though my knowledge is more recent." The words hit like a blade, but Elena kept her expression steady, her mother's lessons of composure guiding her. "I don't know what you're implying," she said. "I'm not implying, darling. I'm stating facts," Victoria said, examining her manicured nails with feigned boredom. "Damien's been in my bed for weeks. You must have suspected, with all those late nights, those urgent obligations." Elena's heart clenched, Sophia stirring restlessly, as if sensing her mother's distress. "You're lying," Elena whispered, though her voice wavered. "Am I?" Victoria's green eyes glittered with cruel amusement. "Just nights ago, while you were screaming in labor, he was with me, making love with more passion than he ever showed you. He turned off his phone, said nothing was more important than me." Each word carved into Elena's soul, calculated to wound. Her hands trembled, but she held Sophia closer, drawing strength from her daughter's warmth. "I don't believe you," she said, the protest hollow even to her ears. Victoria laughed, sharp and crystalline. "Believe what you want. The truth doesn't change. Damien chose me that night. Passion over duty. A real woman over a naive girl playing house." "Get out," Elena said, her voice barely audible but steely. "Oh, I will," Victoria said, standing with deliberate slowness. "I just wanted to see you, to understand what I was competing with. I'm not impressed." She paused at the door, delivering her final strike. "He never mentions you, you know. It's as if you and your little mistake don't exist in his world. How does it feel to love someone so completely while being so forgettable?" The door closed behind her, leaving Elena in stunned silence, Sophia's gentle breathing the only sound. Tears came slowly, then in shuddering sobs that tore from her core. She had been a fool, clinging to a fairy tale while Damien dismantled their marriage. Had the man she met in the hospital, vulnerable and open, ever existed, or had she imagined him? Her mother's stories of enduring betrayal felt distant, unable to shield her from this pain. "Mrs. Hale," a gentle voice interrupted. Elena looked up through tears to see Dr. Alexander Thorne in the doorway, his graying temples and warm brown eyes exuding quiet concern. She'd met him briefly during Sophia's care, a respected physician known for his kindness. "I'm sorry," Elena said, wiping her face. "I didn't mean to." "You have nothing to apologize for," Alexander said, closing the door and stepping closer. "I overheard that woman's cruelty. No one should endure that, especially not now." "It doesn't matter," Elena said, her voice cracking. She was telling the truth. Alexander sat beside her, his presence steadying. "May I?" She nodded, and he settled into the chair, his expression serious but kind. "I've been a doctor for decades," he said. "I've seen love triumph and fail. But your strength these past days, caring for your daughter alone, is extraordinary." "I don't feel strong," Elena admitted, her voice a whisper. "I'm falling apart." "Strength isn't the absence of pain," Alexander replied. "It's choosing to keep going. You've shielded Sophia from your suffering. That's courage." His words, free of pity, reminded her of how she once looked at patients, seeing their humanity. "Why are you kind to me?" she asked. "You barely know me." "Kindness doesn't need justification," he said. "I see your strength, unbroken by betrayal. You'll survive this, Elena, and thrive." "How can you be sure?" "Because I've watched you," he said. "You sing to Sophia, ask about the staff's families, apologize for your tears as if sadness is shameful. That's who you are. No one can take that away." Sophia stirred, her tiny fingers curling around Elena's thumb, and something shifted inside her, not healing, but a spark of resolve. "Thank you," she said, meaning it fully. After he left, Elena looked at Sophia's peaceful face. "We'll be okay, sweet girl," she whispered, her voice stronger. "Better than okay. Mama will make sure." Outside, the city woke under a golden sunrise, but in that moment, Elena made a vow. She would not be a victim. Victoria's cruelty had shattered her illusions, but Alexander's kindness had lit a path forward. The pain was raw, but beneath it lay a fierce determination to rebuild, not just for herself, but for Sophia. As she held her daughter, Elena knew this was her beginning, a transformation sparked by betrayal but nurtured by the strength her mother had always promised she possessed. By June 2024, Elena Voss had carved out a new life from the wreckage of her marriage. The small apartment she rented in Brooklyn, with its 2 modest rooms and windows that welcomed fresh air, felt like a sanctuary compared to the cold expanse of Damian Hale's Manhattan penthouse. The walls, painted a soft cream, held framed photos of Sophia's first smiles, a stark contrast to the sterile luxury she'd left behind. Elena, now 6 months past Sophia's birth, had returned to her nursing job at Metropolitan General Hospital, her shifts demanding but grounding. Her Vietnamese heritage, with its emphasis on resilience and family, fueled her determination. She folded Sophia's tiny clothes into a dresser, each piece a testament to her independence. Lydia, her sister, stood in the cramped living room, arranging Elena's few belongings. "Are you sure about this?" Lydia asked, her voice soft with concern. "It's not too late to move in with me and David, at least until you're settled." Elena paused, her hands steady as she tucked a blanket around Sophia, who gurgled happily in her bouncy seat. "I need to do this alone," she said, her conviction surprising even herself. "I need to know I can." Lydia nodded, her eyes warm with pride. "You're stronger than you realize, little sister." Sophia, with her father's dark hair and Elena's gentle smile, reached for a colorful mobile above her, her tiny hands grasping with fearless curiosity. Elena watched, her heart swelling. This was her purpose now, to ensure Sophia never felt the abandonment she had endured. The doorbell chimed, and Elena's pulse quickened. Dr. Alexander Thorne had promised to stop by after his shift, his friendship a steady anchor since that devastating hospital confrontation with Victoria Reed. "I'll get it," Lydia said, shooting Elena a knowing glance. Alexander appeared in the doorway, carrying a basket that smelled of warm spices, his smile genuine and warm. "I brought dinner," he announced, setting the basket on the small table. "My mother's chicken curry recipe. Figured you haven't had time to cook." "You didn't have to," Elena said, but she moved toward him, drawing to his easy kindness. "I wanted to," he replied simply. "Someone needs to make sure you're eating. You're looking too thin." Elena laughed softly, realizing she couldn't recall her last proper meal. Between Sophia, the move, and navigating divorce proceedings, food had become an afterthought. Lydia excused herself with a diplomatic smile. "I'll run some errands, give you 2 time to catch up." Alexander moved around the tiny kitchen with familiarity, heating the curry and setting out bowls. Sophia watched from her seat, her dark eyes bright with interest. When he approached, she broke into a grin, grabbing his stethoscope with delight. "Well, hello, beautiful girl," he said, lifting her with practiced ease. "Helping your mama today?" Sophia babbled, her laughter filling the apartment, and Alexander's rich chuckle joined in, warming the space. "She likes you," Elena said, a complex warmth fluttering in her chest as she watched them. "The feeling's mutual," Alexander replied, settling into a chair with Sophia nestled in his arms. "She's extraordinary, Elena, just like her mother." "I'm not extraordinary," Elena protested, sitting across from him. "I'm just surviving." "That's what makes you extraordinary," he said quietly. "Most would crumble under what you've faced. You've built a home, cared for your daughter with endless love, and started over. That's not survival, it's strength." They ate as the sun set, the curries, spices mingling with easy conversation about hospital life, Sophia's milestones, and books they loved. Alexander held Sophia while eating, his ease with her natural and unforced. Elena felt a comfort she hadn't known in months, a stark contrast to the echoing nights in Damien's penthouse. As he prepared to leave, she spoke impulsively. "Alexander, why are you so kind to us? You don't owe us anything." He paused, his coat half on, considering her words. "Remember what you said about dignity, that day we talked in the hospital? About everyone deserving respect, no matter their circumstances." She nodded, recalling her words to Damien, now a distant memory. "You live that every day," he continued. "Even after betrayal, you've stayed kind. You sing to Sophia, ask about the staff's families, face every challenge with grace. That's rare, Elena, and it deserves protecting." "But you barely know me," she said. "I know enough," he replied gently. "I know you apologize for crying, as if sadness is shameful. I know you're stronger than you believe." His words hung between them, heavy with meaning. "I'm not asking for anything," he added quickly. "Just know you're not alone. Sophia won't grow up without support, not while I'm here." After he left, Elena sat with Sophia sleeping in her arms, the apartment quiet but alive with possibility. The contrast to her old life was stark. Here, in this small space, she felt peace. "What do you think, sweet girl?" she whispered. "Can we find happiness after everything?" Sophia's fingers curled around her thumb, and Elena smiled, sensing an answer in that trust. 2 weeks later, Elena stood in the hospital cafeteria, applying to resume her full-time nursing role. Evelyn, the head nurse, assessed her with sharp eyes. "The hours are grueling, and you'll need childcare." "I've arranged it," Elena said, thinking of Alexander's offer to help with Sophia when his schedule allowed. "I need to support my daughter." "And your husband?" Evelyn asked. "He's no longer part of my decisions," Elena said carefully, her voice steady. Evelyn's expression softened. "Good for you. When can you start?" Walking the hospital corridors, Elena felt purpose return, a piece of herself reclaimed. Nursing had always been her calling, and now it was her lifeline. "Excuse me," a voice called. She turned to see Alexander approaching, his face bright with surprise. "What are you doing here?" "I got my job back," she said, pride in her voice. "I start Monday." "That's wonderful," he said, his sincerity warming her. "Sophia will be proud of her mama." "Will you walk with me?" she asked impulsively. "I want to see the maternity ward again, where she was born." As they walked, his hand occasionally brushed hers, a quiet connection forming. Across the hospital, in the executive wing, Damien watched through a glass partition, his heart twisting as Elena laughed with Alexander. For the first time, jealousy stung, a bitter reminder of what he'd thrown away. He'd visited Sophia twice, each time brief and awkward, Sophia crying in his arms as if sensing his guilt. Now, seeing Elena's strength, he realized the depth of his loss, but the divorce papers on his desk loomed, a legal battle brewing that would test them all. The crystal chandeliers of the grand ballroom sparkled like stars on a clear night, casting intricate shadows across the polished marble floor. It was July 2024, and Damien Hale adjusted his black tie, his reflection in the gilded mirror showing a man who possessed everything yet felt utterly hollow. The charity gala, a glittering showcase of New York's elite, was another stage for him to display his wealth and influence. Beside him stood Victoria Reed, her emerald silk dress clinging to her curves like a second skin, her smile radiating the confidence of a woman who believed she had secured the ultimate prize. "You look magnificent," she purred, her fingers brushing his collar with possessive precision. "We look magnificent," Damien corrected, though his voice lacked conviction. "Power couple of the year, the society pages will say." "As they should," Victoria replied, her green eyes gleaming. "We command attention, Damien. People want to be us." The phrase echoed in his mind as they made their grand entrance, heads turning and whispers trailing in their wake. The room buzzed with senators, CEOs, and philanthropists, their conversations a hum of power and ambition. But Damien's thoughts wandered, his heart heavy with a discontent he couldn't name. He watched other couples with unexpected attention, an elderly diplomat swaying with his wife, their movements synchronized after decades together. A judge laughing with her partner, their connection radiating warmth. "Stop staring at the ordinary," Victoria hissed as they paused near a champagne fountain. "You're supposed to charm the Warrens. They're considering a major deal." "Right," Damien said, forcing his focus back to the task. He worked the room with practiced charm, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries, but his mind drifted to a small Brooklyn apartment where Elena Voss was likely reading to their daughter, Sophia. He had seen Sophia only 3 times since her birth, each visit strained, her cries in his arms making him feel like an intruder. Elena's quiet strength during those moments, her refusal to beg for his return, haunted him. "You're distracted," Victoria observed as they sat for dinner, her tone sharp. "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing," he replied automatically, but her eyes narrowed. "Liar. You've been off since that hospital visit last month, when you saw her." The accusation hung like a challenge. It was true. Seeing Elena in the hospital corridors laughing with Dr. Alexander Thorne had unsettled him. She had looked radiant, whole without him, her smile free of the pain he'd caused. "Elena is my past," he said firmly. "You're my present and future." "Good," Victoria said, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I won't share you with a memory, Damien." Her words, laced with venom when she spoke of Elena, twisted something in his chest. When had Victoria's wit turned cruel, her confidence into arrogance? "She's not pathetic," he said, before he could stop himself. Victoria's fork clattered against her plate. "Excuse me? She's not pathetic," he repeated, surprised by his own defiance. "Whatever else Elena is, she's raising our daughter alone, working to support herself. That takes strength." "Strength?" Victoria's laugh cut like glass. "I call it desperation, clinging to a marriage that's over, trapping you with a baby you didn't want." "I never said I didn't want Sophia," he countered, his voice low. "Didn't you?" She leaned forward, her whisper venomous. "You said fatherhood felt like a trap, that her pregnancy suffocated you, that you needed to reclaim yourself." The words struck hard, true in a way that made him recoil. He had said those things, meant them in moments of weakness, but hearing them now, stripped of passion, they sounded selfish, hollow. "That was different," he said weakly. "I was overwhelmed." "You were honest," Victoria interrupted. "For once, you admitted what you wanted. Me." The evening blurred on, Damien playing the role of the successful mogul, but every laugh felt forced, every touch from Victoria calculated. Her compliments, once thrilling, now rang manipulative. As they returned to his penthouse near midnight, she pressed herself against him, her hands working at his shirt. "I've been thinking about this all night," she breathed, "proving why I'm what you need." But Damien pulled away, creating distance for the first time. "What's wrong?" she demanded, her eyes flashing with anger. "I'm tired," he said, the lie evident to them both. "Since when has tired stopped you?" she snapped. "You've never turned me down." "There's a first time for everything," he replied, pouring himself a drink with hands that trembled slightly. Victoria's gaze turned predatory, sensing weakness. "This is about her, isn't it? Your precious wife and your unwanted child." "They're not unwanted," Damien said, the words surprising him as much as her. "What did you say?" "I said they're not unwanted," he repeated, turning to face her. "Sophia's innocent. Elena didn't deserve what I did to her." Victoria's face contorted with rage. "Don't you dare romanticize her now that you're bored with me. I've given you everything, passion, excitement. You've given me validation," he agreed, "but not peace." "Peace?" she scoffed, her voice bitter. "Peace is for weak men. You're powerful, magnificent. Maybe I'm more ordinary than we thought." he said softly. Her slap came without warning, sharp across his cheek, leaving a stinging red mark. "You're disgusting," she spat, her makeup smearing with angry tears. "I sacrificed opportunities, better men, for you. And now you want to crawl back to that nobody?" "I'm not crawling back," he said, touching his cheek. "I'm just seeing clearly." "Clearly?" Victoria grabbed her purse, her movements sharp with fury. "If you think you can throw us away for some fantasy reconciliation, you're deluded. She'll never take you back after what we did." "I know," he said, his quiet acceptance deflating her rage. "Then what's the point?" she demanded. "Why destroy what we have?" "The point," he said gently, "is I understand the difference between wanting someone and loving them. I know what I lost." Victoria stormed out, her heels clicking furiously across the marble floor, the door slamming behind her. Alone, Damien stood by the penthouse windows, the city glittering below. For the first time, he saw the emptiness of his choices. Elena and Sophia, in their modest apartment, were surrounded by genuine warmth, a life he'd discarded for fleeting passion. Across town, Elena laughed with Alexander, unaware of Damien's turmoil. The divorce papers, served weeks ago, sat on his desk, a legal battle looming over Sophia's custody. Victoria had urged him to fight, to control, but now, seeing Elena's strength, he wondered if he'd already lost more than he could ever reclaim. The cherry blossoms bloomed vibrantly in the hospital's memorial garden, their delicate pink petals dancing on the spring breeze like a celebration of new beginnings. It was April 2025, and Elena Voss sat on a weathered stone bench, watching Sophia toddle between flower beds with the fearless curiosity of a 16-month-old. The Brooklyn air was crisp, carrying the scent of earth and renewal. Elena's dark hair, loosely braided, gleamed with auburn highlights, a nod to her Vietnamese heritage that had always grounded her in moments of doubt. Sophia, clutching a fallen petal, squealed with triumph, her dark eyes, Damien's eyes, sparkling with joy. "Mama, look," she babbled, holding up her treasure. "I see, sweetheart," Elena called, her heart swelling with a love that had become her anchor since the night of abandonment 16 months ago. The divorce from Damien Hale, finalized in December 2024, after a grueling custody battle, had left her with full custody of Sophia but no financial support, as she'd refused his offers out of pride. Her nursing job and small apartment sustained them, a testament to her resilience. "Beautiful, almost as beautiful as her mama," came a warm voice from behind. Elena turned to find Dr. Alexander Thorne approaching, carrying 2 coffees from the hospital cafeteria, his smile making her feel like the center of the world. "You're early," she said, as he settled beside her, their shoulders brushing in the easy intimacy that had grown over months. His presence, steady and kind, had been her lifeline through the chaos of betrayal and legal fights. "Finished a consultation early," he said, but his tone hinted at more. "Actually, I need to discuss something important." Before Elena could respond, Sophia ran toward them, arms outstretched, her toddler gait wobbly but determined. Alexander caught her effortlessly, lifting her high until she giggled. "Uncle Alex," she chanted, her word for him warming his eyes. "Hello, princess," he murmured, settling her on his lap as she played with his stethoscope. Watching them, Elena felt a warmth that contrasted sharply with the cold nights of her marriage. Alexander had never made her feel like a burden, instead weaving himself into their lives with quiet devotion. He'd helped with Sophia during late shifts, brought meals, and listened through her tears, never asking for more than her friendship. But lately, his glances lingered, and her heart quickened in ways she hadn't expected. "Alexander," she said softly, noting a nervousness in his posture. "What is it?" "I haven't been fully honest," he began, his eyes meeting hers with intensity. "About my background, my family." A cold fear gripped her. "Are you married?" "No," he said quickly, easing her panic. "It's about my position, Elena. My family isn't just doctors. We've shaped medical philanthropy for generations. Hospitals, research facilities, a global foundation. I'm not just a doctor, I'm established. Very established." His words stunned her. She'd known he was successful, But this was wealth and influence beyond Damien's empire. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked quietly. "I was afraid you'd run," he admitted. "I saw what wealth did to your marriage, how it turned love into a burden. I didn't want you to see me differently. Now, I can't hide it anymore because I need to ask you something, and you deserve to know everything." He shifted Sophia to his other knee, reaching into his jacket pocket. Elena's breath caught as he withdrew a ring, elegant and timeless, its sapphire center stone catching the light like a captured star. "Elena Voss," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "I've loved you since I saw you hold Sophia alone, whispering love to her despite your pain. I love your strength, your kindness, the way you protect Sophia and see the best in everyone." Sophia, sensing the moment's weight, grew still, her eyes moving between them. "I love Sophia as my own," he continued. "I love the family we've become, and I want to make it official, not because you need saving, but because we're better together." Tears streamed down Elena's face unheeded. This was different from Damien's grand proposal, which had felt like a transaction. Alexander offered partnership, not possession. "Will you marry me, Elena? Will you let me be Sophia's father and your husband, for all the right reasons?" "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes, of course." The ring slipped onto her finger, a perfect fit, and when he kissed her, Sophia clapped, as if sensing something wonderful had happened. "So," Elena said, pulling back to admire the ring, "just how established are we talking?" Alexander laughed, relief and joy in his voice. "Enough that Sophia will never want for anything, that you'll never worry about security. Enough to change the world if we choose." "And what do you want to do with it?" she asked. "Build the best children's hospital in the country," he said without hesitation. "Fund research for families like those you've cared for. Make a difference, not just accumulate more." "I love you," she said, the words free and joyful, unlike the desperate pleas of her past. The engagement announcement hit the society pages days later, sparking a wave of attention. Alexander Thorne, it turned out, was not just wealthy, but revered in medical and philanthropic circles. His family's foundation had pioneered pediatric care, built clinics in underserved regions, and trained countless doctors. "Did you see this?" Lydia burst into Elena's apartment, waving a newspaper. "They're calling you the nurse who captured the heart of philanthropy's prince." "That's ridiculous," Elena laughed, reading the glowing article about their romance and Alexander's legacy. The response was overwhelming. Hospital board members, university leaders, and charity heads sent congratulations, eager to meet the woman who'd inspired Alexander. "I had no idea," Evelyn, the head nurse, confessed during a shift. "I knew Dr. Thorne was important, but his family is medical royalty." "It doesn't change him," Elena said, still adjusting to her new reality. "He treats Sophia and me the same." "True," Evelyn agreed, "but it changes how the world sees you." Elena felt the shift. Calls from journalists, invitations to galas, requests for interviews about her journey from heartbreak to triumph. "I don't want this attention," she told Alexander one evening as they walked his family's sprawling estate, Sophia on his shoulders. "You don't have to," he said, "but you could use it. Advocate for single mothers, healthcare reform, whatever matters to you." "What if I just want to be a wife and mother?" she asked. "Then that's enough," he said, his voice warm. "But as my wife, you'll have the resources to be anything else you choose." Across the city, Damien read the announcement, his heart sinking. The legal battle had left him humiliated, and now Elena was moving beyond him, her happiness a mirror to his failure. Victoria's voice echoed in his mind, urging control, but he saw only loss, a life he'd discarded for a fleeting thrill. The grandeur of St. Patrick's Cathedral loomed like a testament to eternal promises, its Gothic spires piercing the September 2025 sky, as if offering blessings to those seeking redemption. Elena Voss stood in the cathedral's nave during the final walkthrough for her wedding to Dr. Alexander Thorne, her hand resting lightly on his arm. The air carried the scent of polished wood and fresh roses, a stark contrast to the sterile hospital where her journey began 2 years ago. Her ivory gown, still in fittings, awaited in the bridal suite. But today she wore a simple dress, her dark hair braided with a single pearl, a nod to her Vietnamese heritage. Sophia, now nearly 2, toddled nearby, exploring the side chapels with fearless curiosity, her laughter echoing off the stone walls. Mrs. Pembroke, the wedding coordinator whose services were reserved for the elite, consulted her leather-bound planner with crisp efficiency. "The guest list has grown significantly," she said, her voice calm but authoritative. "We've declined numerous requests. The governor sends regrets, but the mayor, several senators, and the Children's Medical Foundation Board will attend." Elena's breath caught. "This is unreal," she whispered to Alexander. "Months ago, I worried about Sophia's daycare, and now senators are coming to our wedding." Alexander squeezed her hand, his warm brown eyes steady. "They're not here for spectacle, Elena. They respect our foundation's work and want to meet the woman who inspires me." Sophia, escaping her Aunt Lydia's watch, darted toward a floral arrangement, her tiny hands reaching for a white rose. Her delighted squeal warmed the solemn space, and Elena smiled, her heart full. "The media coverage will be extensive," Mrs. Pembroke continued. "Society magazines, medical journals, and philanthropic newsletters all want to document this union of 2 families dedicated to healing." "2 families?" Elena asked, puzzled. "It's just Sophia and me." "My dear," Mrs. Pembroke said kindly, "you're a single mother who worked as a nurse while building a life for your daughter. That's a story of sacrifice that resonates. Combined with Dr. Thorne's legacy, this wedding symbolizes hope and renewal." After Mrs. Pembroke left, Elena and Alexander sat in a front pew, watching Sophia weave between cascading displays of lilies and baby's breath, their petals glowing in the stained glass light. "Are you having second thoughts?" Alexander asked, noting her contemplative expression. "Never about you," Elena said quickly. "But this," she gestured at the cathedral, "feels so exposed. What if people think I'm just a gold digger who traded up after my marriage failed?" "Those who matter know better," he said firmly. "And the rest? Their opinions don't deserve your concern." "Damien thinks I'm a gold digger," she said softly, her voice tinged with lingering pain. "He's telling people I left him for someone richer, that I planned this." Alexander's jaw tightened. Damien Hale has no right to judge anyone's motives. Let him talk. The truth reveals itself. His words steadied her, but Elena's mind drifted to the divorce, finalized in December 2024 after a bitter custody battle. She'd won full custody of Sophia, refusing Damien's financial offers to maintain her independence. The legal fight, fueled by Victoria Reed's urging that Damien contest custody to maintain control, had left Elena stronger but scarred. Across the city, Damien sat in his lawyer's office, staring at the wedding invitation on heavy cream paper with elegant gold script. It read, "Elena Voss and Dr. Alexander Thorne request the honor of your presence." "It's a provocation," his attorney James Carter said, his tone sharp. "Sending this knowing your history. Or it's Thorne's way of showing what I lost," Damien replied, his thumb tracing the embossed lettering. "Do you know who this man is, James? Really?" "I've researched, since you asked," Carter said bluntly. "The Thorne family built modern pediatric medicine. Their foundation influences healthcare policy more than most governments. Alexander Thorne holds patents on surgical techniques that saved thousands of children. His wealth dwarfs yours." Damien's stomach churned. Not just wealth, but generational influence, earned through service, not fear. "I have to go," he said suddenly. "I strongly advise against it," Carter warned. "I need to see this," Damien insisted. "I need to see her marry him." That evening, he found himself at Victoria's apartment, though their relationship had frayed since his moment of clarity at the gala. "You look awful," she observed, pouring herself wine without offering him any. "What's the crisis now?" "Elena's marrying Alexander Thorne," he said simply. Victoria's glass slipped, shattering on the marble floor in a spray of burgundy and crystal. "What?" she hissed. "At St. Patrick's Cathedral, soon," he said. Victoria stared, her face cycling through disbelief and rage. "That's impossible. Alexander Thorne doesn't marry random nurses with illegitimate children." Apparently, he does, Damien said. No, Victoria snapped, pacing. I've tried for years to get an introduction to Thorn. That nobody can't just stumble into the most eligible bachelor in the country. It's not fair. Fair? Damien found himself defending Elena. She didn't stumble. She's worked, raised Sophia, built a life. If Thorn loves her, it's because she earned it. Victoria whirled, her eyes blazing. Don't you dare take her side, not after everything I gave up for you. What did you give up? He asked, the question surprising them both. Opportunities with wealthier men? You never sacrificed for me, Victoria, only for what I represented. And what did Elena sacrifice? She shot back. Her freedom, her trust. The words landed like blows. Elena had given everything, her independence, her heart, trusting him completely. And he'd destroyed it. We're going to that wedding, Victoria declared. Why? To watch her realize marrying wealth doesn't erase her past, Victoria said, her smile cold. To see reality crash her little fantasy. Damien drove home through quiet streets, the invitation on his passenger seat glowing under streetlights. Why was he going? For closure? A faint hope of reconciliation? Or to witness the life Elena had built from his betrayal? The cathedral loomed in his mind, a stage for a reckoning he wasn't sure he could face. In Brooklyn, Elena stood in her apartment, Sophia asleep in her crib. The divorce had been brutal, but she'd emerged stronger, her mother's tales of resilience her guide. Alexander's proposal had offered not just love but partnership. As she looked at the sapphire ring, she felt ready for the public stage, unaware that Victoria was plotting a confrontation that would shake the cathedral's sacred walls. The wedding would be more than a union, it would be a vindication. A moment where truth would stand tall against the shadows of betrayal. The morning sun poured through the stained glass windows of St. Patrick's Cathedral on September 30th, 2025, casting vibrant prisms across the white marble floor. The cathedral buzzed with anticipation, its pews filled with society's elite, senators, university presidents, and medical pioneers, gathered for what the press had dubbed the wedding of the decade. Elena Voss stood in the bride's preparation room, her ivory silk gown flowing like liquid moonlight, its antique lace veil, a Thorn family heirloom, crowning her dark hair like a halo. Sophia, nearly 2, toddled at her feet in a miniature gown, her dark eyes sparkling as she clutched a tiny basket of rose petals. "You look like a queen," Lydia whispered, her eyes bright with tears. "Mama would be so proud." "I feel like I'm living someone else's life," Elena admitted, adjusting a pearl necklace from Alexander's grandmother. 2 years ago, I was alone in a hospital giving birth. Now you're marrying the most respected man in the country, Lydia said firmly. You deserve this happiness. Outside, the cathedral brimmed with distinguished guests. The mayor, flanked by senators, and the Children's Medical Foundation Board, their presence a testament to Alexander Thorn's legacy. Camera flashes sparkled as photographers captured each arrival, the air humming with whispers of medical breakthroughs and philanthropy. Several rows back, Damien Hale sat beside Victoria Reed, both dressed impeccably, but out of place among the understated elegance of true influence. Damien's tailored suit, once a symbol of power, felt inadequate against the quiet authority around him. Victoria's emerald gown clung to her, but her face was pale, her green eyes scanning the cathedral with agitation. "I can't believe she fooled him," she hissed. "Look at these people, Damien. This is where I belong, not some nurse who played victim." "Keep your voice down," he muttered, his discomfort growing. Every overheard conversation praised Elena's resilience or Alexander's innovations, not wealth or status. "The bride's an inspiration," a woman behind them said. "A single mother, working as a nurse, now expanding children's healthcare advocacy. Remarkable. Dr. Thorn saved my niece with his surgical technique," her companion added. "Their love is a story for the ages." Victoria's jaw tightened, her carefully crafted narrative of Elena as a desperate opportunist crumbling. This wasn't the broken woman she'd mocked. This was someone who'd earned respect through sacrifice. The organ's triumphant notes filled the cathedral, and heads turned as the procession began. Children from the hospital's pediatric ward walked down the aisle, carrying single white roses, their lives touched by Elena's care and Alexander's innovations. Sophia followed, scattering petals with serious focus, her dark hair bouncing. Spotting Alexander at the altar, she broke into a run, calling, "Daddy!" The congregation sighed in delight as he lifted her, kissing her cheek before passing her to his sister. Photographers captured the moment, destined for magazine covers. Then, Elena appeared, gliding down the aisle, her beauty radiant but secondary to the strength emanating from within. Her eyes locked on Alexander's, their love palpable, stirring even the most jaded hearts. "My God," Damien breathed, barely audible. This was no broken wife. This was a woman transformed, a queen claiming her place. Every step she took underscored his loss, the depth of his failure to cherish her. Victoria's hands clenched into fists, her makeup cracking under the strain. "This isn't possible," she whispered, her voice trembling. When Elena reached the altar, Alexander took her hands with reverence, as if holding something sacred. The officiant, a bishop, spoke of love transcending worldly concerns, of partnerships serving greater purposes. "Dearly beloved," he said, "we gather to witness two souls who heal others, now pledging to heal the world together." Their vows were heartfelt, devastatingly beautiful. Alexander spoke of Elena as his missing piece, making his success meaningful. Elena's words of second chances and courage brought tears across the congregation. "You loved me when I forgot how to love myself," she said, her voice clear. "You loved Sophia before she was yours." The bishop pronounced them husband and wife, their kiss sealing a union that felt greater than themselves. Applause erupted, genuine and joyous. Suddenly, Victoria stood, her movement sharp, drawing gasps from nearby guests. "I can't watch this," she said, her voice cracking with hysteria. The sacred atmosphere rippled with disturbance as murmurs spread. "Victoria, sit down," Damien hissed, grabbing her arm. "No," she yanked free, her voice rising. "This is wrong. She doesn't deserve this." Pushing past him into the aisle, her facade shattered, revealing a desperate woman consumed by jealousy. "She's nothing," she shouted, her words echoing off the cathedral walls. "A nobody nurse who trapped one man with a baby and seduced another with sob stories." Security moved toward her, but Victoria was beyond restraint. "I gave up everything for you," she screamed at Damien, who followed, mortified. "And for what? So you could mourn a woman who never deserved you." Camera flashes exploded, capturing her meltdown, her makeup streaked with tears of rage. "You destroyed me for her," she continued, advancing on him. "Look at her with him. She never looked at you like that because you didn't deserve it." "Stop," Damien pleaded, aware of hundreds of eyes witnessing their disgrace. "Stop?" Victoria's laugh was sharp. "Why? We're proving we don't belong here." She won that nobody won everything. The man, the respect, the perfect family. Her hand struck his cheek, the slap echoing like a gunshot, leaving a red mark. "You betrayed her, me, and now you're nothing." Security reached her, gently but firmly escorting her out as she sobbed, her voice fading into a desperate wail against a reality she couldn't accept. Damien followed, his face burning with shame, unable to meet anyone's gaze. The man who once commanded respect was now an object of pity, his humiliation complete. Guests reached for phones, the drama too gripping to ignore, while others stared in stunned silence. As the doors closed behind Victoria's cries, the bishop, with calm composure, signaled the recessional to continue. Elena and Alexander, watching with pity, not anger, began their walk down the aisle. Sophia in Alexander's arms, pointing at flowers, oblivious to the chaos. "Are you okay?" Alexander asked quietly. "I'm perfect," Elena said, her serenity absolute. "They can't touch what we have. Nothing diminishes this moment." As they stepped into the sunlight, flashbulbs erupted, documenting their emergence as a couple of profound influence. Damien lingered on the cathedral steps alone, the weight of his choices crushing him. Elena had become a queen, and he was nothing but dust beneath her triumph. a truth Victoria's outburst had laid bare. The autumn sun bathed New York in golden light on September 30th, 2025, as Elena Voss and Alexander Thorne stepped out of St. Patrick's Cathedral as husband and wife, their hands entwined, Sophia giggling in Alexander's arms. The cathedral steps were lined with photographers, their flashes capturing the moment that marked not just a marriage, but a triumph over betrayal. Elena's ivory gown shimmered, its lace veil catching the breeze, while Sophia, in her tiny flower girl dress, waved at the crowd, her dark curls bouncing. The city hummed with energy, but for Elena, the world narrowed to the warmth of Alexander's hand and the joy in Sophia's eyes. Her Vietnamese heritage, with its tales of resilience, had carried her through heartbreak to this radiant new beginning. In the weeks following the wedding, Elena and Alexander settled into a life that blended purpose with love. Their honeymoon, a quiet retreat to a Tuscan villa, was covered by international media, not for its extravagance, but for the couple's commitment to simplicity. They spent days exploring vineyards and evenings planning their shared vision, a children's hospital to rival the world's best, funded by the Thorne Foundation. Elena, inspired by her mother's stories of rebuilding after hardship, insisted on including programs for single mothers, offering medical care and support to those facing struggles like hers. Alexander, shaped by his family's legacy but grounded by Elena's compassion, agreed, his eyes lighting up at her ideas. By early October 2025, the couple returned to New York, moving into a modest estate on the Thorne family's property, a sprawling yet warm home filled with books and Sophia's toys. Elena resumed her nursing shifts part-time, refusing to abandon her calling, while Alexander spearheaded the hospital project. Sophia, now thriving at 2, began preschool at a community center Elena had helped fund, her classroom adorned with artwork reflecting her dual European-Asian heritage. Elena taught her daughter Vietnamese lullabies, weaving stories of her grandmother's strength into bedtime routines, ensuring Sophia grew up proud of her roots. The wedding's aftermath rippled through society. The press lauded Elena as a symbol of resilience, her journey from abandoned wife to philanthropist's partner inspiring countless articles. Single mothers wrote to her, sharing stories of their own struggles, and Elena responded personally, organizing support groups through the foundation. Alexander's influence amplified her voice, their partnership a beacon for healthcare reform. At a gala in November 2025, Elena spoke publicly for the first time, her voice steady as she addressed a crowd of policymakers and donors. "Every family deserves care, not just those with wealth," she said, her words rooted in her hospital experiences. The applause was thunderous, and Alexander beamed, proud of the woman who'd transformed his world. Damien Hale, meanwhile, stood on the sidelines of his own life. The cathedral confrontation, where Victoria Reed's public meltdown had exposed their betrayal, left him a pariah. Society pages that once celebrated his power now whispered of his fall. He'd lost the custody battle for Sophia, the court siding with Elena's stability and love. His visits with Sophia, brief and supervised, were painful. She called him daddy with hesitation, her bond stronger with Alexander. Damien's penthouse, once a symbol of success, felt like a tomb, its silence mocking his choices. Reading about Elena's work, he saw the depth of his failure, not just as a husband, but as a man who'd traded love for fleeting passion. Victoria's departure was final. After her outburst, she'd retreated to a private facility, her ambitions shattered. Damien received a single letter from her, scrawled in shaky handwriting, revealing her own past. A lover who'd betrayed her, driving her to seek power as armor. "I became a monster to never be hurt again," she wrote. "You were my chance to win, but I lost everything." Damien burned the letter, its ashes a symbol of his own regret. He considered reaching out to Elena, but her happiness, evident in every news story, stopped him. She'd moved beyond him, her light untouchable. Elena's life, though, wasn't without challenges. The public spotlight brought scrutiny, and some whispered she'd married Alexander for his wealth. She faced these accusations with grace, her mother's teachings guiding her to rise above. At a hospital board meeting, she proposed a scholarship for nurses from underserved communities, drawing on her own mixed heritage to advocate for diversity. Alexander, battling his own pressures, family expectations to expand their global influence, found solace in Elena's grounded perspective. "You don't have to be everything to everyone," she told him one night, Sophia asleep between them. "You're enough for us." By December 2025, the groundwork for the Children's Hospital was underway, its design incorporating spaces for cultural programs, reflecting Elena's belief that healing extended beyond medicine. She invited Lydia to join the project, her sister's organizational skills shaping community outreach. Lydia, reflecting on their mother's lessons, told Elena, "You've turned pain into purpose, little sister. Sophia will grow up knowing she's loved, no matter what." Elena smiled, her heart full, seeing her daughter chase butterflies in the estate's garden. Alexander laughing beside her. Damien, alone in his office, read the latest article about the hospital, Elena's face radiant beside Alexander's. He'd tried redemption, sending a donation to the foundation, but it was returned with a polite note, "Your support isn't needed." The rejection stung, a final confirmation that he'd lost his chance to be the man Elena once believed in. He enrolled in therapy, seeking to understand his choices, but the sessions only deepened his regret. "I wanted to be seen," he told his therapist, "but I destroyed the one person who truly saw me." In Brooklyn, Elena stood on her apartment's balcony, now a weekend retreat, watching the city glow. Sophia slept inside, her crib adorned with a mobile of stars, a gift from Alexander. Lydia joined her, holding a cup of tea. "What do you think Mama would say?" Lydia asked. "She'd say love is stronger than betrayal," Elena replied, "that we rebuild not to forget, but to honor what we've overcome." Lydia nodded. "You've done that, Elena. You've shown the world what strength looks like." As the year closed, Elena and Alexander hosted a small gathering for hospital staff, a nod to her roots. Nurses shared stories of patients whose lives were touched by their work, and Elena felt her mother's spirit in the room. Sophia, toddling among guests, called Alexander Daddy, her trust in him complete. Elena's eyes met his, their love a quiet force, unshaken by the past. The hospital project, set to open in 2027, would carry their names, a legacy for Sophia and countless others. Elena, once broken, had become a queen, not of wealth, but of purpose, her future radiant with the promise of love and impact.